Aren't you bored with telling yourself that you don't know what you want? Because there are really only two obstacles to you knowing exactly what you want. And the first is about you being limited to what is immediately available to you in front of you, what you believe you can have by what you were brought up to believe was possible for somebody like you. And the second is that right now you might be problem focused. And that means you are so engaged in spotting what's wrong in your life and how you have to fix it that you can't actually move out of this survival mode into a mode where you're thriving, where you know that everything that is good is actually just waiting for you and that you can have it. In case we don't know each other, my name is Katrina Horn and I'm a life coach, and I help my clients do exactly what we're going to talk about today, which is find out what it is they really want and then come up with a way of how to get it. So let's dive in. I'd like to go into a little bit more detail about these two obstacles, and then I'm going to propose you two exercises around them. So if you're on board, please go ahead and follow. Please go ahead also and subscribe to this channel because it helps me immensely. And if you like the content, please feel free to like. So let's dive in. I want to talk to you about the cases I just enumerated. So let's take a look at case number one, the obstacle number one. And I want you to imagine that you were born at a certain time into a certain environment. So let's imagine somebody who's born into a family who lives in a high-rise building where mum and dad go out to work in the morning, come back in the evening, complaining about how hard their boss is, how hard life is. It's hard to make ends meet. And they tell you things like, you have to work hard and life is difficult and don't get your hopes up and things like that. And case number two, like another extreme is if you were brought up, let's say in a mansion in a neighborhood where everybody had their private jet. And mum and dad were just busy making tons of money and telling you not to settle for this and expect more and give you everything that you really desired, and letting you know that you could have whatever you wanted. So these, of course, are two extremes. And I think the really dangerous one is the one in the middle, where many of us were brought up, which is where, well, it's sort of life is okay. Like, yeah, it's okay. Of course you can have things in life. It can be comfortable, right? But you have to keep repeating the patterns that we have been recreating generation after generation. Can you feel that? It's like, yes, you keep repeating the pattern and you will be okay. Whereas if you don't fit in with those patterns, if your desires are telling you that there's so much more, well, then it's really, really hard to break out of it because there's really nothing wrong with it because you feel safe there, right? So these are just sort of some of the cases, and everything, of course, exists, everything in between. You could have been brought up by lovely and supportive parents who told you that you could do and have anything you wanted, or you can have been put down in your family, whether they were rich or poor. I mean, everything is possible. But the thing I really want you to notice is that if you are aware of the limitations that your environment has put on you, and I think that there are very few people on this earth who have been brought up in an environment where there were zero limitations. So when you become aware of the limitations that have sort of been handed down to you through generations, perhaps, when you become aware of them, then you can see them clearly and then you can question them. Are these really the limitations, or are these really the rules I want to play by in life? And if you're willing to question that, then please keep listening because we are going to. Let me turn now to the obstacle number two, which is when we find that, well, there's so many problems in life. Like, so of course, I can't live in my dream villa. I can't find the love of my life. I can't make all the money I want to. And all of these reasons why you can't have something, be something, or do something. There are these obstacles. If you're willing to play along with me, you'll see that really we can also call them excuses, even though they can seem really, really real. So please don't believe that I'm discounting them. I'm just letting you know that if you're willing to look at them differently, then maybe you can find a different way of dealing with them. So when we sort of pull in our future to be really close to us, it becomes really uncomfortable because many of us can imagine, yes, I will find love once I live in Spain on the beach and I've got this condo and I've got this boyfriend and all of that. It's sort of out in the future. And when we pull it up really close and say, okay, next month I'm moving to Spain, then we sort of freak out, panic and say, oh, I can't because so. And if you're willing, just in your mind, to play along, like play a mind game, I'm not saying go out and do something really, really challenging or really, really like taking a big risk. But if you're willing to just play around with it in your mind, well, then we can really start wiggling some of all these obstacles loose. So let's go into the first exercises, which is about finding out what it is you really want and being so precise about it that you can start imagining it happening to you in your life. You can start imagining being the person who has or does it. So it's about, instead of saying to yourself, I don't know what I want, admitting that there are some things you do know what you want. There are some things you're very clear on. And what if that was enough to get you started? So I would like for you right now to just get out a piece of paper. You can press pause on this video because getting out a piece of paper and writing things down is not for some metaphysical reason that it will magically happen. But when you focus your attention, and you do have to focus when you are writing things down, you can't write one thing while you're thinking of another one. So taking out the piece of paper and writing things down will help you focus. And that's why I would really love for you to do this exercise on paper. On your piece of paper, I'm presuming you've paused and you're back, I want you to make 5 columns. 5 columns, 5 lines. So in the first column, the one to the left, you write, so the headline of that column is person. So you've got a whole column just named person. And here I want you to think about people you admire or things or people you find really inspirational. It could be situations, could be really anything going on. So for me, I mean, unless you have never talked to me before, you will know that I want to live in a chateau here in France. And maybe from my background, you could be fooled into believing that I already am, but I'm not. I'm living in a very big house. You could call it a mansion, but I want to live in a chateau for many reasons that are not really relevant today. So I get inspired by talking to people, by being with people or watching people who already live in a chateau. So I would list in the column of persons people, for instance, who had a chateau and were living in a chateau. And chateau is just French for castle. So go ahead and for you, write down any number between 3 and 5 people who are doing or having or being something you admire. So 3 to 5 people. Take your time, write them down. So it could be somebody you know, it could be family, it could be a really famous people, it could be somebody you're following on social media, could be a heroine in a book, it could be anybody. And let me also preface this by saying that we are not really very interested in reality. We are interested in your perceptions of reality. So these people, we are going to look into not who they really are, but whom we perceive them to be. So once you've got the names of these people, take your time. You can always come back, you can change them. But really, if you want to do this exercise and get the maximum information from it, take your time, choose 3 to 5 people that you admire or you love to follow on social media, or you just like being in touch with them, something, right? Once you've got those people in the first left-hand column, go ahead and look into column number 2. The title of column number 2 is what they have. So what do they possess? So with all these 3 to 5 people, think about what do they possess that I really desire? What is drawing me to them in terms of possession? So I just said a chateau. But I could go further. I could say beautiful furniture, beautiful paintings, beautiful gardens, chandeliers. I mean, I could sort of list everything that they've got, but I could also go into like a relaxing lifestyle. It's not about reality. It's about how I perceive it. So when I go and visit them, I see that they are surrounded by luxury and beauty, and I perceive that to be really fulfilling. I perceive that to be relaxing. So they've got, in my case, I could say a relaxing lifestyle, a fulfilling lifestyle, a lifestyle where there's time. So think about, for all your 3 to 5 people, what have they got that you desire? Once you've done that, feel free to pause the video to really go into it. The next column will be about what they do. What do you perceive them to be doing that really pulls you towards them, that really has you perhaps even bond with them, but really feel this close attraction? What is it that they're doing? And it could be they have their own business. I see them making millions, or for me it would be they have a flower garden, or whatever. What are they doing, really? What is it that you perceive them to be doing that you desire? You think, oh, I quite fancy that. Take some time with this column. So feel free to pause again, pause the video before we go into the 4th column. So when you're ready, let's go into the 4th column. That is about who and how they are. So for your 3 to 5 people, I would love for you to list their capacities, their abilities, sort of their personality, their outlook on life, everything that they are, and not really who they really are, because you might not know them, but how and whom they appear to be, how you perceive them. So how do you perceive them to be? Could be relaxed, it could be joyful, could be confident, it could be anything. Why are you drawn towards them? Peaceful. Like, I find many people are drawn to me because I'm peaceful. I feel at peace. So what is it that you are drawn to with these people? Take your time, write it down, go as deep as you like. So feel free to pause here, and we'll go into the sort of recapping of all of this and trying to use it for something useful for you. Because remember, we're trying to find out what it is you really want. So in the last column is meant for notes to you. And I would sort of invite you to look at, in the 3 columns that you have filled in with what people do, what they have, and who they are, What is it really that appeals so much to you? What is it about it? And if you do that for all of the people here, well, really, you have got a sort of roadmap to your desires, because you have got everything here that you want right now. So I'm not saying this will always be true, or this will stay forever, or this is definitely your ultimate roadmap. It's just sort of an indication of today, right here, right now, listening to me, what is it that you so desire? And I think it's something that you can take out, perhaps even once a month, and do this exercise again and see your desires evolve and get really, really crystal clear. I use this exercise to find out that beauty to me was one of my biggest values, because before doing this exercise, I wouldn't quite admit to myself that, well, it was okay for beauty to be a value. I thought it was sort of flippant, superficial, or frivolous. But then that led me really down to seeing that I really enjoy people who are creating beauty, living in beauty, and being sort of, who've got beauty on their radar, if I can say it like that. I found that to be really, really, how can I say that? Really inspiring, I suppose is the word. And you can also notice with this exercise that perhaps there are some people you're feeling jealous of. And I think that's okay, because there are two sides to a coin. One side is called jealousy, and the other side to the coin is called inspiration. So my belief is that jealousy is the flip side of inspiration, meaning that jealousy happens, or being envious. Envy or jealousy happens when you see somebody have, be, or do something, and you believe you can't have, be, or do it because they did it or have it or are it, right? And inspiration is when you do exactly the same thing. You notice somebody has got or is or has or does something you want, and you take that to be proof that you can have it too. So it really doesn't matter. We can infuse some of this jealousy with a lot of love, and we can try and flip it over and say, oh, they've got it, I can have it too. And that really is the profound truth, isn't it? That we can have what other people have. Like, I can have a chateau because, believe me, in France there are many chateaus, and some of them really need a caring hand. And so I can have a chateau and you can have one, and well, perhaps not everybody, but everybody who desires a chateau, I think, can have one. And wouldn't it be lovely if we had a world where everybody was living in the chateaus, they were occupied by people who were laughing, enjoying themselves, enjoying the beauty, feeling good? Wouldn't that be lovely? So I think you can find that with all your desires, even if at first hand they seem a little bit, perhaps not very, what can I call them? Not very momentous, not very important, like perhaps even frivolous. Well, what if the deeper truth was that they were actually extremely valuable? That is sort of another lane you can go down for reflection if you want to. But first of all, please do this exercise if you've ever asked yourself, I don't know what I want. What do I want? This is a really good indication. Again, it's not about reality. It's about your perception of these things, of these people, of their actions, experiences. It's just to find out what attracts you to them. What is it? It's not about the why, it's a what. Okay? So once you've got all that down, you have got a good indication of what it is you really want. And of course, you can dive into any of these points. And if you can sort of open up to, and I'm going to get into that in our second exercise, that there is no right way. That there are many ways of you getting to where it is you want to be, being who you want to be, having what you want. There are many ways. There is no right way. There might be a way in which you see you doing it, and the more you see you doing it that way, it becomes the right way. So that might be another thing you will have to wiggle loose. So let's wiggle it loose with our second exercise. It's about being less problem focused, because let's face it, we live in a society, and maybe even genetically speaking, like physiologically speaking, we have been designed to spot problems, because being able to spot problems is what has kept us alive. So we've got that programming running very, very strongly inside of us, and it has us live in survival, because we are spotting all the problems all over the place, often rehearsing problems before they occur, because we believe that if we rehearse a problem before it happens, well, then we will be prepared and it somehow won't be such a big problem, or whatever it is we think. Like, that is overthinking. But it has us in this survival mode when we are only focused on problems and how we can solve them. And often we don't see the solution, so we stay in the problem. So can I just say that don't be too hard on yourself if that is you, because you can't know what you really want as long as you see problems more than you see possibilities. So I'm sure you've heard about surviving or thriving. Being problem focused is about survival, and thriving is about shifting that focus into a place where you haven't got problems. And you haven't so much got problems because you can see the solutions. It's just that you can see that, well, it's not really a problem. So you can think of it either as, oh, I'm in a place where I've either got no problems, or the solutions are so apparent and they're so easy to do that there really isn't a problem. And once you're in that gorgeous place, then so much more becomes possible. So let's try and wiggle this mindset loose too, where you can go from being problem focused over to, oh, actually. Okay, so again, I would love for you to get a piece of paper, or you can just flip it over and do this next exercise on the other side. But again, if you write it down, you make sure that you stay focused. You stay focused on what you're thinking right now, and your thoughts aren't all over the place. So let's take the paper and make 2 columns, just 2 this time. The first column is called excuses. So let's play again in our brains with the idea that all your obstacles, all your problems are simply excuses. And I'm sure you've heard about this before. But the thing is, when we think of our problems, we think they are so real. And we can't see that there's any way around them. So we really have to make a huge mental effort to see it differently. But if we're just playing along here, like you're sitting here with me on YouTube, you can press pause, you can switch me off completely. We're just playing around here. So if for a moment you could just see them as an excuse, let's write them all down. Let's make a whole long list of all the reasons why you are not living your desires, why it is you're not living your real life, your ideal life, why it is that you just don't know what you want, right? And you can't get it because you don't know what you want. You don't have the money. You're not surrounded by the right people. It's not the right time. All of that. Write down all the excuses. And pause me here, please. It can be anything from I don't have enough money to my mother doesn't understand me to, I mean, you go for it. What is coming in the way? Why is it that you can't live your dream life today? What is it that you have to put in place? What is it that has to happen? Just dive in there. Just write it all out. All your excuses. So please pause here. And when you're back, let's move this. Let's move this on for you so you don't stay stuck here. So if you're willing to play with me, and you start calling your problems or your obstacles excuses, let's, in the second column on your piece of paper, let's write down what is also true. So many things can be true at the same time. I can say that I'm extremely rich, but then I'm sure I can find somebody in the world who's even richer than me. I can be sitting here saying I'm poor, and that would be if I focus on everybody who's richer than me. But really, so many things can be true at a time. It can be true that I've got a really great education, I've got so much training, but then maybe if I wanted to be an architect, I would have to train again. Do you see what I mean? So, truth, I think, can be many things. So, what is also true? Let's look at it. If you said something like, my mother is always criticizing me, what is also true? So what is also true is, my mother loved me enough to bring me up. My mother loves me enough to talk to me. My mother believes that she can criticize me into becoming a better person. My mother is perhaps misguided. My mother would like to understand me, but can't. Like, all this can be true at the same time. So if you do that with all your problems, like, I haven't got enough money to move to Spain and buy a villa and live on the beach. What is also true at the same time? Well, you might not be able to buy a villa. Would you be able to rent a beach house? Would you want to try it out? What else is true? And I think it's important to look at what you could do right now, because otherwise we'll be going into the future and we will be sort of lulled into a full sense of security by the idea that, oh, this will happen in the future. But no, let's make it like our very near future, like in 2 hours, like in tomorrow. And of course, practically speaking, you can't move to Spain in 2 hours, but even I would challenge that. It depends on what you're willing to do. But if you just recognize that, oh, so many other things are true, I'm just not willing to take action on it. If you can admit that, well, then at least you're being honest with yourself. You're being completely honest, and that feels good. Because if you can be honest without judging yourself, if you can be honest without telling yourself, oh, I'm just not brave enough to move to Spain, you can say, right now it seems so daunting to me to move to Spain. And then you can get curious about how you can wiggle that loose, how you can start becoming braver, or how you can make it less daunting. Do you see what I mean? So you're taking these excuses or these problems or these obstacles, and you are sort of forcing yourself to look at it differently. So I'd love to hear your comments about this. And I know that when we've got problems, they seem so real. But really, often our problems are just not problems. And they're just our way of protecting ourselves from doing something stupid. Doing something that seems stupid, but could be really so life-affirming. We just don't know till we've done them, do we? But please recognize that with anything you do, there will be consequences. As long as you're thinking about it, you're safe. So you can play all the thought experiments in your mind. As long as you're not taking action from them, you're safe. And I think it's really, really safe it's really, what can I say? It's safe to feel safe before doing anything. So I think you have to create this psychological safety for yourself before you go out into the real world and take action. So you could be saying to yourself, my obstacle to moving to Spain is that my husband wouldn't support it. So that can feel so real. You could have a conversation with him and he could say, no, I really don't think we should be moving to Spain, and don't move to Spain on your own. I really don't think it's a good idea. We don't have the money, we don't have the house, and blah, blah, blah. So those are his excuses, right? So if you're willing to wiggle all of that loose and come up with a different way of looking at it and say something like, at the moment, my husband is afraid of my desire to move to Spain. So it's sort of, you've already wiggled it loose because it's his fear that's speaking. So, oh, if I could help him see that it's safe, then maybe he would want to. If I can somehow create safety in a space where he doesn't feel safe, perhaps where you don't feel safe, maybe so much more becomes possible. So I would really, really invite you to write some of this down and look at it, all of it, as an excuse. So bring up your future right in front of you and say, oh, what if this was about to happen tomorrow? What then? Because otherwise we sit back, we wait for years and years and years for things to move, and when in reality it could have happened so much sooner had we been willing to let go of some of these obstacles and just look at them differently. So in case you want some help wiggling this loose for yourself, please go ahead and book yourself a life audit session with me. It's free, and we go into what your real desires are, and then I let you know what it would look like to work with me to help you move past them and into the life that you really desire. Because let's face it, it's possible. If you're not living your real, ideal dream life right now, it's because there's something inside of you that tells you that you can't. So let's shift this for you. So in case you haven't already done so, please subscribe, please like this content if you liked it, and let me know in the comment box below how I can best serve you. If you've got any comments, any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Bye for now.